Good afternoon and welcome to today's Cashflow Digital, sponsored by odys.cc. If you want a £100 bonus in the link below, if you're interested in age domains or done for you affiliate websites. And we have Mr. Pierce, Brad the Destroyer, who's not destroying too much, and
destroying that ass,
dude. With Otis, ODYS, we got I finally got all that content that they did for us is up, and what's cool is the profile I selected, right? Actually, yeah, it's all indexed. The profile that was in that, because of the way they do their domain grabs and stuff, man. With June, like tweaking some of the stuff around when it comes to like certain aspects like named entity recognition and other things, dude, the profile is spot on for what I am seeing happen right now. So it's actually doing pretty well. I'm just gonna let it sit and see what it does just with the content drop in the profile that's there for maybe a month. And it's my kind of work, dude. Let them do something and then sit for a month and do nothing. That's what I do. You know, it's perfect. I love it. I love it.
With thanks and compliments.
I'm Russian. So I'm going to start off again, though, because there's something that I appreciate that John Mueller pointed out. And I think he's telling us he loves what we do. Someone asked about, can you tell me why someone who is copying my content consistently and ranking better than us, what could be the factors which should look into or what measures we should take? All right, so he talked about the DMCA.
Is it the exact same content?
Yeah, taking the content. So exact same content and ranking with it over the person who produced it, right? So why do you guys think that might be? Let's take a little. Let's do an experiment. And if you're in the audience, let us know why they might be getting to rank with duplicate content. And
I know
you guys,
the old school Weebly hack for reputation management was you just piggyback on their authority, copy everything word for word. Now I've done it. Copy everything word for word, including title and everything. You get the exact match domain. How does he look like Stone? Yeah, I guess with the hat. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Pounding beers.
I'm Buddy Jesus.
But yeah, Buddy Jesus. I'm Jake the Snake. But get everything exactly or as close to exact as you can on the page. And then just hit it with links, and eventually it switches out with the primary. And then you do it with Weebly because you can meta refresh it over after that. So
let's break that down. Craig, do you have anything to input in there? Keep the Weebly thing in mind because it actually breaks down why it is like really well. Dude, you're actually smart. I didn't know it.
I learned a few things.
It's not Weebly. What do you think about like the original producer of the content getting everything outranked by another property?
I mean, it's not just obviously using Weebly or whatever. You can use expired domains, anything with any kind of historic power.
I used Weebly because it was free. It was the only reason.
But I mean, Weebly's a good thing. But go.
No, you go.
Obviously,
no, you hang up.
Obviously, if something's got more power, more authority. For example, if Matthew Woodward, for example, was to copy and paste someone's stuff, I'm pretty sure it would rank reasonably well because of a whole combination of different factors, and he's a trusted source and all that kind of stuff. And you have
mostly that he's not from the U.S., right, Craig?
He's not. Nah, he stays in Costa Rica.
Mostly that's why.
Yeah. But also, what I wanted to say is, how freaky is this?
Is that Mr. Bean?
That's fucking me.
That's what's his name, isn't it?
I just noticed
got
the
the baby body.
Oh shit! Yeah.
That'll
be him. That'll be him sitting in the ring after the fight, sobbing. So
anyone, this is not fucking me. This guy copies Chase Rayner as well. I think there's Mr. Money Boy. Chase has called himself Mr. Money Man. This guy, I don't know who it is. I don't know if it's one of you guys jackassing around.
Jordan. I would not take the time to do that. I can get.
I think that's Jordan.
That looks like Mike's Photoshop skills, though.
The one I gave of Craig was great, dude, off my phone. So okay, back to John Mueller, dude, because he's teaching us today. And so you both basically, to me, what you said was, Brad, you took domain weight from Weebly, and then you hit the domain, the subdomain with links. So you built up the page's authority as well, right? And it had the content that's relevant. And probably Weebly is a more weighted domain than the original content domain that you stuck on there, right?
Yeah,
I would say. So his answer, I mean, that's really
I mean,
what
as
he
far
says.
as DA, you're not going to be able to beat DA unless you put it on something very similar.
But even from other, and especially now, if you look at what's going on now, like the whole, like, back then, 6 years ago when you could just like switch it out really quick. Right now, there's so many other factors that come through, like the profile, that there's so much, even if it's like just a DA thing, there's so much that could come in through that profile that you're just not seeing, that is weight, that we can't even call it DA, PA, PR. Yeah, there's PR, there's user-centric, topical PR, whatever pattern they're using, but there's a whole bunch of other shit that's in it now. There's a whole bunch of shit that they've been granted recently that shows exactly why the CTR, all these metrics are flowing into through links and other things. So now it becomes even more of a case where, like what John says here, from my point of view, it's something that we can determine to a large extent. But even if we know which one is the original and which one is the copy, sometimes it makes sense to show a copy in the search results. He's straight up saying that they will decide based on the metrics that if this seems better, we will show the copy over the original. So I just kind of wanted to throw it out there. Everyone always talks about dupe content, this and that. I think it's a good way to look at it, where if you're taking pieces, mashing up, someone mentioned conversion AI and Chase and all that right there. If you're mashing that up or breaking it up and taking from different sources, if they're willing to rank a freaking original copy from someone that they can actually clearly see that was copied, they will rank your mashup or your spun content if it reads well, if you do it correctly. I think it's a really good read between the lines situation for anyone, whether they're doing white hat or gray hat. It really doesn't matter, I think it's bitching.
Would you say it comes down to maybe not as much of an authority thing, but more of a trust issue at that point?
Dude, it's a loaded,
I would say it's more of a trust. Yeah. If you ask someone like us, it's more of an authority, but yeah.
Well, so here's the thing. Go ahead, Craig.
I was going to say, that's why I used Matthew Woodward as an example. He's just a trusted source of information. So, and it's not based on just his domain authority, it's everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why building entities and your expertise, authority, and trust, and all of that other shit, your Crunchbase profiles and joining all the dots for Google, trying to trigger your knowledge graph and all that shit's all massively important. Ticking all those trust signals for Google.
Yeah. All that shit takes a while to kick in, but it pays long-term dividends for sure.
Yeah. When you dig through patents that have been granted since Raghavan, whatever, I can't say that. The new director of search came in, fired people in search.
Call him Rob Van Winkle.
Right, Rob Van Winkle. When Rob Van Winkle took over as the director of search at Google, he fired a bunch of people, got rid of people that had been there for like 15 years, put new people in with different opinions and directions, and patents started getting granted after that, right? And these patents, when you look at them, you can see why trust is a thing that people talk about. Trust is a big ass bucket, though. It's a huge freaking bucket. There are things where it's not. You don't have to be this big trusted entity to get this to happen. You just have to have the right elements around your page, right? So if you are sending users that are real users, and I know Craig and I have had conversations, and Brad and I knows all this too, about bots versus like real freaking users coming from places and on your website. If you get that going on and they collect samples of this, and there's certain ways that they collect these samples that they've laid out, and they get the same data like from multiple users, then they can start to say, okay, this page right here is an authority. So if you are a website with a large social following and you publish something, I'm not saying this is what he's talking about. This is a sample of what could happen potentially in theory. You publish something from someone else on your website, you share it on your social media, and the people come through, someone drops a link somewhere, or you build a link somewhere, they start to correlate and bring this all together and aggregate this data, and that other original has nothing there happening like that. Like, which one seems like an authority to you, whether you're spamming that or doing that legitimately? I mean, it's pretty obvious, right?
But also, surely, Mike, when you're releasing a post or whatever on a website, you ain't just pressing publish. You're doing a number of other things. Like for me, when it goes out to social, it gets pushed out to my push notifications, this, that, and the next thing. So there's a whole bunch of shit that goes on to try and make get that click-through rate very, very quickly, which is always going to win that. So even before this stuff, I've been doing that kind of shit for years, trying to make it look
me too. Yep. You have to. I mean, it makes sense though, doesn't it? Like, it makes sense. Like, I always looked at it, I remember doing a pharma campaign in I don't know if this was a 2014 or 2010 one, but when I dropped links, right, it never feels right to push something hard without having activity around that. Because like, if we look at PageRank, and backlinks have traditionally just always been about estimating the user experience, right? And now they're making steps towards user experience actually through all the establishment of like different processes they have. But from day one, PageRank has been about like, oh, if this link is here, then we can estimate that potentially this page has 100 people on it. It's got a link it's got 10 links on it. One goes out. I can estimate that 10 people are going to go to that website. And then maybe like 5% are going to take action. So that's a quality website. That's like a basic calculation. And it's been going on forever. So I think that I'm sure you're doing it different than you were doing it, but it did make sense back then. When I dropped links, I would drop press and I would push traffic through stuff because it just made sense. And that it necessarily didn't do anything back then, but it made sense, right? Yeah. So I don't know. I never tracked it. I couldn't tell you when it started making sense directly. Do you have an idea of when you started seeing changes?
It's hard to quantify because even now I'm still not sure of any time I do a process, there's like 5 steps to it, and I'm not sure if 3 of them are bullshit and it's just me fucking around.
Probably the 80-20 rule, right?
Yeah. So
they all feed off each other too. So if you took one piece out of that, everything else might not be as effective. So
yeah, it's like anything, you're always probably doing that bit more just to kind of future-proof or do what you believe is going to be a good thing or whatever. And I think obviously CTR has always has been a thing. I think there was people talking about it back in 2009 and stuff. So sending traffic through stuff always made sense to me, and it's always about making things look good for Google and playing that kind of game. So it's hard to say when. I've always done that kind of stuff. Even back in the day, I was buying social signals and everything. Again, I stopped doing the social signals at a point because I just didn't believe they were doing anything. But I used to, that was part of my mix as well, was do all this stuff and buy a whole bunch of social signals as well until I was pretty damn sure that social signals were a pile of shit. And it made no difference when I stopped buying the social signals. So
hey, social signals can make you a ton of money if you're on Fiverr selling them.
Yeah. But they do fucking jack shit.
Yeah.
I think it's important to just look between the lines with what Google said and what we've experienced, right? Social signals, right? They are a link. Social signal is a link. A no follow is a link. Google said that they will ignore no follow unless they don't want to, right? What makes them not want to ignore a no follow? What makes them not want to ignore a social signal? Is there any value in social signals that don't have traffic going through it? Not at all, right? They're shit. They don't work. But if you have a share that gets a bunch of traffic going to your page, I mean, is that valuable?
Here's the story I had, right? Years ago, I tried to rank for SEMrush tutorial, and it was just good on page, and it stuck at the top of page 3. I then got, I'd done all the buying social signal stuff. Fucking nothing else happened. Then I got SEMrush and stuff to retweet it, and a few other people to retweet it. And the thing jumped up to position 3 in page 1 within a few weeks. And I'm like, fucking social signals do work, blah, 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 blah. But that's what we were then able to establish real social or real traffic going through that is what made the needle move. Not the fact that I was buying social signals. It was the fact that SEMrush retweeting it had X amount of people going through the website, and that CTR and everything else was that's what convinced me that just buying social signals in general were a complete pile of shit. Because I used to go to, I can't remember the place, it was like some social share marketplace, and you used to buy fucking coins and all that kind of stuff. It was just absolute garbage. I can't even remember the name of it. But yeah, so at that point, just through testing and stuff, you're like, shit, social media does help your SEO and all that kind of stuff. And then when you drill it down, it was actually just the CTR at that point that they helped move the needle. So
I mean, that's why it's important if you really want to drive a money site and drive rankings. You need to have the list that you own, the email list, the social groups or whatever. That way you can have the traffic on demand. Hey, we just put out a new post, like a legitimate post and use your legitimate network or list of people that you own, or you don't own the people, you own the list. But and unless you can get them for a price, but I don't know how much that would cost you. But anyway, send over real traffic, real qualified buyers. You're going to get sales out of it, and it's going to boost your rankings, just like you said. I'm sure it's like that to the 100th degree with SEMrush is doing it.
Yeah,
I don't have that kind of following.
But that's where what Mike says, pixel, because even when I post something and I put it out on Facebook and I boost that to the people that are on my Facebook pixel, again, you're getting real traffic through that fucking thing at a real cost. So
it's really interesting. There's a question that came through about a Google stack, right? And I want to kind of explain something. So like back when that stuff wasn't happening and I was talking to Marco and saying, look, transparency is really freaking important. Like you want to show Google everything you can show them on your first tier, on your money tier, right? And you want to take as much of what you can that works and they don't like and put that further away, but make sure it makes you go faster than your competitors, because it's all about your resources in business. Now, the question was, do Google Stacks work? I don't do them. I do them. We do them, but it's only because it serves a purpose for what we're doing in our campaigns. However, I will say that I know of many, many stacks that are pretty new that are doing, 1 million plus freaking visits a month. So yes, they do work, but here's the thing. The Google stack that you might build is not the same thing that someone else might build because of the experience and knowledge that they have. So I really think it's time for people to start really paying attention to what is going on since they did change their search department. There are literally, there's data out there that shows you exactly pretty much what they're doing. We can't know for sure, but with data that we work on and things that they say and changes they make, you can kind of see the path they take. And they absolutely have recently talked about how that they have ways to look at what individual users are doing, how it connects, and what's going on both sides of the data stream and both sides of the traffic flow. Backlinks are never going to go away. They're always going to be important. But now it is time to realize that they've had Chrome for a very long time. They've got fun APIs, and start looking at why might people be doing Google Stacks. What's the alternative metric in there besides just my backlink is being built and pointing to my website, right? I think that's the best way forward for people is to pay attention. And it is rocket science if you're doing it, Craig Campbell Jr. It is. There was a question about PBNs.
Let me get it back.
And I will say that people do try and overcomplicate SEO a lot. So
yes, they do. Very much. When making my
but I think a lot of people with ADHD get into SEO, and isn't that a thing to make overcomplicate stuff so your mind can get that dopamine drip from solving the overcomplicated problem? That's how it's been explained to me.
Dude, I sat down with Wicked and read 7 fucking patents yesterday, dude, while we were programming shit, right? And it was, No, I mean, it's just fucking, what am I doing, right? It's crazy.
My wife can't say that I don't listen to her because that's where I heard that, so.
Yeah, exactly, right? I never knew that. It just works. I enjoy this stuff for some reason. It's fun, The PBN question is interesting because this is why, like NFG. I mean, I think Brad has something to say about this because we've kind of built our whole methodology about simulating like a real business throughout our full network. Yeah. And if you're running an affiliate like that, I personally prefer, if I'm just doing it as like I'm a spammer, I'm out there and I'm going to spam to make affiliate money, I want to separate it and secure my business as much as possible.
I mean, our primary source of monetization is phone calls. So in that case, you just have a different tracking number on there. You can get that from SignalWire for like 20 cents a month or something per number. If you want to go high dollar, you can get it for like $1 or $2 a month. If it's an 800 number from CallRail. So
it's a hard one. This is one of the reasons why I do like certain types of monetization better, because I would say go ahead and set up some redirects. You can mask this from.
I was going to say, yeah, just use a redirect and don't worry about it past that. Exactly. It can be an internal redirect on your site too. Yeah.
So you can go ahead, Craig.
I was going to say, you also need to ask yourself the question, how big is this PBN going to be realistically for this guy? Do you need to go to that trouble if it's only going to be a handful?
Exactly.
Absolutely not.
No, not a handful. No, absolutely. When I think of this, I think of thousands of websites, right?
Yeah.
Or thousands of pages on websites, stuff like that. Yeah.
And in that case, like you can set it up so it looks like internal navigation, and there are things you can do to send it over and make it look like people and the bots are moving around the site. There are ways to do things like this. However, like with refers and different stuff, but realistically, if you're not going to be dropping,
even go that far. Yeah.
No, unless you're doing something large scale, and even in that case, I'm going to segment it because I know what happens in those campaigns, and I don't want them all in one bucket. You know.
Mm-hmm. Now, I will say, if you're using it for linking and everything, and you plan to monetize using AdSense, I would probably have different accounts at that point. But in that case, though, you're going to be setting up different entities for each site anyway, as you should. So just tie it to that entity.
In that case, you have multiple bank accounts, multiple credit cards, and you can go buy multiple AdWords campaigns if you want. So it's very different. But yeah,
well, you don't want to push it. You don't want to push an AdSense account too high up, regardless. So, but I honestly wouldn't suggest making AdSense your primary monetization method unless you're just blowing out the internet and producing a shit ton of content. So,
yeah. I think the last part, if you have a relationship with the app manager, just ask for multiple tracking URLs that are not connected and get multiple IDs and see if you can just run UTM or something and just make it completely different. And because there is nothing wrong, and there's some stuff you can do with images too. There's a lot of ways to kind of hide that. But I mean, it's easy to overthink it because I can think of like freaking 100 ways to do it. So I'm going to stop talking. I wouldn't
overcomplicate it. At most, I would probably just send the link that you link out. Link that to an internal page on your site and just use Pretty Link to redirect that to your affiliate link and then let it rip. Beyond that, I wouldn't worry about it. OP's question about building citations. I would do that if my plan is to rank an internal page on one of my mini nets or what have you, and then 301 that specific page over to the in-money site to help boost the rankings. Otherwise, if you're just building citations to build citations and not as a way to push rankings on the site that you're going to ultimately 301, then I wouldn't worry about it. So yeah, do what you got to do to rank that page if you plan on 301ing that at the page level. Hope that makes sense.
Question for Mike.
It's because he's hired a little person, Mike has.
I have, dude.
To tickle him.
I have.
So
I absolutely.
That's what happens when you're an SEO baller. You can afford stuff like that.
You can afford little people. I'm not going to say that. That's bad, Brad.
Little people are bad. I was careful in my.
So I think it is. I don't know what you're supposed to call people that are short now. Like, what do you want to be called, Brad?
Yeah. You know what? I almost kicked the crap out of a kid at the pool the other day. You want to know why?
Yeah.
What's that?
Funny quick story. So the
Yeah.
pool that we go to is just a golf course. It goes from like 3 foot to 5 foot at the deep end. So they don't really have a deep end. So this kid looks at me. I'm in the pool, like playing with my kids and stuff. It's one of my kids' friends. And he's like, Mr. Brad, can you reach? Can you touch at the bottom all the way down there? I'm like, it's 5 foot. Fuck off. Yes, I can touch. I just thought
That's rad, dude.
that
was rad, dude.
All the other parents were laughing at me. So this kid thinks I'm like 4'11". So
that's rad, dude. That's a simplification, but yeah, you can say that absolutely. But yes, no. Well, here's the thing though about that statement is they definitely have like tweak shit right now, and they're going to continue to do it. They're going to continue the core in July. They're going to continue to roll out all this. Like they're going to continue doing this for a while. But what I'm seeing in a lot of things is that if you've been, depending on what you've done, if you've been hit since 2019 with any of the cores, roughly around then is what it looks like, at least. Then like I'm seeing July just not affect anybody, and June not. And we're not even in July yet. I'm already talking about the one coming in. I'm sorry.
That's future-proof SEO.
That's hilarious, dude. So June is not affecting people that have been hit by like May 10, the unnamed, and then like the one in February that was unnamed. And then December, they got hit in those, like December, and then the rollout after that. And then they're just steady through June, right? And in those situations, it really is like get your shit rebalanced and just start building forward again. And so I think that the new normal for people to kind of get used to is that you're going to come across these situations where people used to do really well. Now they're doing like a half or a quarter of what they used to do. And that is a time where you want to just kind of make sure that shit's clean and then move forward, right? And if not, then send it over to Brad to see if we can buy the domain, because
if you ever give up on a site because you got hit and just can't recover it, send it to us and we can either potentially help you out, or if you just want to wipe your hands clean of it, we can look at purchasing. Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be an interesting, run. I think it's going to be really freaking interesting. Like some of the shit that's starting to work, some of the shit that's looking interesting it looks like they're making a slight shift of where they've been going, but we'll have to wait and see. There's talk about what's that?
I was just going to answer the question that's up. They dropped them because they couldn't gain market share in that kind of sub-segment. If they had come out with Android phones and no one had bought them, they would have dropped that as well. So let's try this, see if we can compete with Facebook, Twitter, whoever they deem their primary competition in that sub niche. If it doesn't take off, we just cut it. It's easier to cut it and stop bleeding money.
The other aspect is too, like before they had Chrome, they paid people $1 per Firefox install because they've been going this data way for a long time. So they have reasons to launch things, let it run, and then close it and take it away once they collect their data set. There is stuff, like especially with the metric stuff, there's things that certain people in their organization have written about where they don't collect data all the time. They get a baseline and then they come back and collect data. Like, let's just talk about someone, like say this is how they do use like visits on the page or something, like how they look at your website. They might collect data for like an hour, or they might collect data for a week, and then they stop collecting it, and then they come back and they check it at intervals because it's too fucking hard to store all that data, right? So they make estimations based on what they're seeing, and so if they put something out and then take it away, it might be marketing, but it also might be it did what they needed it to do, right? They absolutely got everyone using it, establishing like entity relationships.
There was so much
that's data
at Google Plus, though. Like I can't imagine
there was
how much server cost that was costing them. So discuss effective PBN making. Mininettraining.com is how Mike and I build our PBNs. So you just gotta the biggest thing with PBNs is treat them as though they were a money site. That will strengthen them. That will bring in traffic. That will make your links more powerful. And you can also monetize those as well at that point.
I'm going to reemphasize this like extremely. PBNs, I'm rewriting software right now because of what's happened. And there are a lot of sites you'll find out in certain markets that have like been up for a few months and have a freaking reverse waterfall because people understand what just happened. And if
I wish I understood what happened.
No, you don't. You really don't. I know you. But when Brad says treat it like a money site, the reason we say this is because when you treat something like a money site, you tend to do the things that Google wants. And it tends to do better if you treat it like a money site. It does better by being a better link, by potentially making you money if you're doing it right. Craig, like, are you building networks right now at all? Like, or do you have staff building networks right now?
Yeah, I still think that I've always loved that type of work anyway. I wouldn't say it's the only focus we have, but yeah, we still build out networks of websites. It's, for me, they're still as effective as they always have been. So why the fuck not? I don't really want to. Someone actually asked me today, where's the best place to buy your own PBNs? Just fucking build your own. Like, why put
ODYS?
Put your business. Why put that in the hands of some other douchebag who might get all greedy and sell that to the masses and it gets slammed at some point? So for me, I think trying to retain control is a big thing, and that's one of the reasons that I still do it. Not because anyone else's networks are any better or worse than mine, but it's purely that element.
They're assets, man. You should own your asset for sure. Yeah. Like, exactly. You want me to build them for you and point links at your sites, Craig? I will. You want to pay for my sites? I'll take it.
In all honesty, if you have the budget in hand, then you should go to ODYS, which is traditionally known to buy money sites, cash generating money sites. You should buy that. Buy a few if you can in your particular niche. You can have them build it out, pay extra to do that, and then set it up on different hosting, and then you can use those for linking. And ultimately, they should be generating revenue. So that's how you should look at your networks. I'm sure that you do the same stuff. You don't do traditional PBNs and stuff like that, where it's like chiropractor, linking to chiropractor, linking to CBD, linking to, that's a traditional PBN. We want everyone on here should get past that, like well beyond that. At least go into the mini nets where you're using expired domains that are in your niche. Recreate those expired domains. Find one with a clean wayback and just pay someone to recreate the wayback at the very least. And then you've got a halfway decent PBN.
The way is like building or buying properties, buying assets. Mm-hmm. Just keep buying as many as fucking money allows. The good thing,
the biggest difference and the best thing about buying websites as properties as opposed to like actual brick and mortar real houses or apartments is you can actually pick this site up and move it to, it's in a horrible location, potentially 3rd, 4th page of Google. You can take that and move it to what's Monopoly, the blue ones, Park Place. You can take that from like the brown ones on the Monopoly board, move those all the way to Park Place and get premium money from that at that point.
The way I was going to say it was the shit brown ones is Greensboro and those blue ones is Beverly Hills. So
that's right. Yeah.
Move right over there. Yeah. But you've got a fellow
move across the country
person.
I got a buddy that
Greensboro's going to be red when that nose gets busted of yours, Craig.
No, don't make him less pretty, guy. You got to keep each other.
I don't think that's possible. That ain't possible.
You guys got it. So on the PBN thing, the last thing on the PBN thing is the latest one I saw sold. A buddy came to me and said, "Hey, is this too little?" And because this is legitimate. But the latest one I saw sold was 100 sites for 40 grand, dude. Like, no joke. Like, if you want to get a real freaking network built from someone, you're not paying a little bit of money. Like you go out and buy a service where they're charging you.
Is that the guy you were mentioning to me?
Yeah. It ended up going up to, exactly.
Yeah.
And, but
we know one guy that sold his site and a group of network sites for, I think he got 200 grand for it. And that's just, he got hit in the update and ended up flipping it because he wanted the cash. So yeah, he got 200 grand for payday sites.
The offer originally was 500.
Yeah, it was 500. But he hacked his traffic, with the December update, couldn't recover it in time, and then just said fuck it.
Which it can be fixed. Like literally, like I know exactly because I've seen it, and it's the same shit that we were just talking about with the last rollouts. Like, and so that's why, like, even though that site was hit, like, listen to that. This company spent $200,000 on a network that that had just lost 50% of its traffic. Okay, so that's the kind of thing that's going on, like, with that kind of shit right now, and it's actually pretty cool. They've I feel like they've given us a really cool playground and made some things a lot easier for us if you know what you're doing. Like if you're really paying attention, if you're building networks, I think you should really take advantage of the data that you have. If you're building PBNs, treat it like a money site, track it, and start watching what happens when you start to move your campaigns. Like I'm not a big like go test one thing by itself kind of guy. I like to like see live, and then if I see something that I think might be happening, then I might go have someone do something or look at some correlation or some shit. But if you have the data, just use it. It's SEO. You should be tracking your SERPs. You should be tracking as much as you can, so you can make informed decisions, right? Do you have processes set up like that, Craig? Do you guys track shit for you? Like, what do you track?
I mean, we don't do any crazy kind of tracking, but obviously on money websites, the usual basics are all tracked, and we have to see how things are performing. We need to see if things are up or down. It's important because they're treated like a real website. Like every day, my money website's the first thing I look at is analytics to see how much money I made yesterday.
Count your money at the beginning of the day. Yeah.
Refresh.
You've got to, even for these other websites, you need to know how much money it's generating or how much traffic it's generating, at least bare minimum. How would you know? I've been in the past, I've had loads of shit-ass websites, and some of them have been slammed. Some of the websites have went down and I've not even noticed because shit wasn't tracked and I wasn't able to manage it properly. So I think, it's very, very important. As you say, these are real assets. It's like, buying 10 houses and just leaving the doors open for people to come in and just fucking wreck the place. Why would you ever do that? There's basic things like locking the door and checking things are okay and going round there and checking it once a week or whatever. I think you've just got to have the basics done. I don't go all anal on tracking and have every last thing tracked. But I think just the important things for me either are the money and the traffic is all I really care about. And obviously the keywords are important as well.
Exactly. No, it's interesting because I think it becomes like, as you start doing different things, and like you've been doing this since what, 2000, 2001, something like that, right?
Yeah, some shit like that.
I'm sure that you're tracking a lot of stuff that you don't even think about, and you just know the data is coming in and then you look at it. I know I do. I like when you put up tools and you start putting stuff up, you just end up getting data. And if you have that, it's nice to be able to look at it. So I think people really should pay attention at this point because if Google's tracking all that data, it's probably important for us to track it too.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing that's most important with this whole thing is that word. Data, call it what you like. That is going to help you going forward. So,
I called it what I like, Craig.
Lucky for you, it's what I like. Hey, Mike, what do you think of Money Robot? Risky? You still use it? Do you know people still using it?
Yeah, the same concept. I know people that's what they do for most of like their tiers behind the first layers. So. I'm not going to say go use Money Robot directly to your site, but I will say that there's certain places where you can still throw the kitchen sink at shit and it works really well. I'm sure that you can do it somewhere that I don't do it and it will work too because I just don't do it. But yes, I know some people.
Yeah, if you know what you're doing, you can still use it. If you don't know what you're doing, I probably would not take the time to start learning it at this point.
Yeah.
So the quality at tier 2 was something that did have shifts. Like absolutely the tier 2 quality had shifts in it. And you just need to take that into consideration with everything that you're doing. There's a lot of things that is like one hop back that did shift a lot. But they're also still on page elements because if you're one hop back on page, you can get the same effects in the sites too. So if you know it's two tiers back, just make sure that Money Robot I think is just 2.0, right?
Yeah, as far as I know, yeah.
No,
it's not like
SER
an
with
SER. No.
Okay.
No. It's more of an FCS, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So like that's like tier 2 quality in my opinion. Yeah. That's like back up. Not necessarily. I'm not going to
Tier
build
2
my whole
or
link
tier 3,
profile.
maybe.
What's
Yeah.
that?
I said tier 2, maybe even tier 3, because if you
I
have,
would put it back at tier 3 myself right now, but
Yeah.
honestly, I think you could put it at tier 2.
because I would probably, if I'm setting up, just say we're just ranking with mini nets, we're not doing edits or guest posts or anything. I would have an entity built around each network site, each mini net, and I would probably hit that entity with the money robot / FCFS networker / whatever to those social properties, because then you're what on the third tier, and you've got that high trust like barrier in between those. So that's probably the safest way to use that type of tool if you want to use that. Yeah.
So Craig, do you use any of that stuff in your link building? Like, do you use any 2.0 type and then kitchen sink type stuff in your building at all?
Yeah, I think it's sensible to do it in the right places. But I don't use Money Robot anymore. I use Autopilot. I just think that's a bit more modern, gets a bit more inventory loaded into it, and it does. But they all do the same fucking thing. And I do the odd GSA thing now and again as well, but certainly not to my money websites. And even, as Mike says, some of that shit will still work in certain countries around the world where spam still works effectively. I still go down the route of not throwing the kitchen sink at the money website at all. I'm trying to future-proof my business, and even though that may work in Italy, for example, just now, and you might make a ton of money, I want to keep making money, so try and follow the same methods that we have to for the UK or the US search engines, because eventually it will catch up and you will get a slap for using that stuff direct to your money website, in my opinion.
Yep.
So,
I honestly, go into Kathleen's question. I don't worry too much about it. I'll probably be logged out have a specific browser that I use for all of them. Just bring it up in a private browser. If you want to take it one step further, I would probably go with like containers within Firefox. If you want to take a step further than that, and you've got actual moving parts in the Google account attached to that, then I might go
money
with
parts.
Yeah, money parts. Yeah. What was the one that you used that's like
multi-login is solid.
Yeah, multi-login is what I was trying to
with
do.
actual physical machines and like side deck. There's like stuff you can use. Selenium, like you can, depending if you want to write or you want to do it. But for that, personally, I'm gonna say I wouldn't give a shit.
Yeah, I just use private browsers and log out of Google. Essentially.
If it's money, like, because they're not going to do anything. Like, I literally can tell you, I've seen campaigns make millions in a spreadsheet in Google Drive. They never fuck with it unless they do.
Until they do, yeah.
And they didn't.
No, they didn't. No, and that particular individual had all of his SEO clients in Drive the same.
Bro, there was hundreds of listings in that shit, dude.
Yes. Direct CID links to the listings.
Like, dude, it's so funny because they can see stuff, they do read stuff, but at the end of the day, there's a lot they just don't give a shit about. Like, seriously. Have you had networks like completely wiped out, Craig? Like just gone and not come back ever?
No, never.
But I mean, we've lost sites, but
yeah. But the way I look at this is, we are probably small time in the grand scheme of things, unless you're ripping the absolute shit out of it and you've got maybe tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of shit, that's the kind of thing they're slamming, not for people like me who've got maybe a couple of thousand or whatever. I'm just dicking around in the grand scheme of things. So unless you're a absolute psychopath who has literally tens of thousands of websites, which is feasible, but I
still want to pay the
with the changes that just happened. I'm looking at least 5 or 6 groups. Someone came to me and said, "Okay, look at this. They have 12% of the index. Like, we're talking about 12% of the index that is there's 4 million new content pieces published every day, right? So if you're talking 12% of the primary index and there's 4 million pages published every day, that's a lot of fucking pages, dude. So like there is just a lot that like we don't have to worry about unless you're getting into certain campaigns and doing certain things. Like there's SEO can be used for a lot of shit, and it's in politics, it's in a lot of places. If you just are doing this and doing client work and you're doing, you know, a small affiliate, it's not a big, you don't have to worry about it, I don't think.
Nah, definitely not. But Michael Likens has a question. If a client has hundreds of thin pages, should we no index them to avoid panda problems, or would you recommend that he does content pruning, maybe merge some posts and shit like that?
I would take anything. I would probably figure out where those pages need to be and 301 them.
Honestly, this is where I would go, and I would say grab the ranking report and grab the keywords out of the ranking report and then throw them into like something like Keyword Cupid to group them, and then start looking at the URLs to see like what should be associated and determine like what to combine and what to completely drop. Because I guarantee you in this case that they have pages that are on topics that probably don't need to even be there at all and shouldn't be there, and they're detrimental to you. So I would just grab the rankings, throw it into a grouper, and be really smart about how I group my terms together to build pages and clusters, right? And silos.
That is it. The no index thing, forget about that. Exactly.
You'll kill your crawl budget is trash in this case right here. So people forget to go and think about the fact that right now you probably have shit. It's probably not you, I'm sorry, but the client probably has crap interlinking, which means that the internal page rank is being spread across hundreds of thin pages, and Google's still going to crawl that shit and put that stuff there, even if you no index it. They're still moving on it. They're still crawling through it. So you're wasting the resources that they're going to give you. And then eventually they're going to look at, these guys ain't fixing this. We're going to stop coming back. And they're going to end up stop coming back. And then eventually you're going to see like discovered, not crawled. And they're going to say, screw you. And they're going to just stop crawling. Because you're just, that's how you get into that situation.
Hopefully that helps you, Michael. Jared's asking, where are you keeping track in your various assets? Are they on a robust spreadsheet, or what are you guys doing for that? I'm a
one big long text file. You just scroll for days.
There a lot of stuff is in like UI. I have old networks still on like main WP and different things, but right now the software is being re-edited, and it's UI type stuff. It's much easier to me to have it in a situation where it doesn't have to be managed in a spreadsheet. It's not my thing.
I have a file system,
Brad's good at it. Brad's really good at it.
File system with spreadsheets and text files.
Yes. Yeah. Thanks,
Thank
Alex.
you, EMW Digital. Appreciate it.
He's got to go look for landers, I think.
This I wanted to jump. Did we do the? No, that was Michael. Okay, it was a real estate. That's the same question, I think.
I don't know what KGR tools are. Do you guys know?
No.
Keyword golden ratio.
Yeah, I don't know
what it stands for. But I've never heard of a tool for that shit.
What is that? I've never even heard of it.
Yeah.
You remember? So people come up with this. I can't remember who it was. Someone came up with this KGR, and there's a specific figure. It's like the old ratio of keywords back in the day, where people used to say, you had to have like fucking 5% density or whatever.
Yeah.
I still believe that bullshit works, and they're calling it keyword golden ratio. So they're coining that term.
That's asinine.
Yeah. Because someone
marketing.
And I'm like, to Chris Palmer, I'm like, Chris, what do you think about this? I had no fucking clue what KGR was. And Chris is like, I've no clue. And I'm like, neither have I.
I'm reading about it right now, and it sounds like complete bullshit, dude.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe
it's just reboxing something else,
So,
Mike, have you ever gotten into copyright troubles?
Have I? Yes, I have.
It happens when you're out there. Typically, you're just going to receive a cease and desist and for mentioning a brand name, which is fine legally, in my opinion. I'm not a lawyer, so research that on your own.
The answer is Google Tag Manager.
Yeah, it's easier to just fucking take it down.
We don't want to forget about that question. The keyword golden ratio. I don't know what the calculation, what they're doing. you really just want to be grouping keywords by like intent and things like that. So if you've got something where that you have a bunch of these, like, so I saw someone's agency they sent to me for grouping or whatever, and they threw in like a term that had the word course in it, and they're an SEO agency that doesn't do training, right? And like, so they're thinking they're going to build something for the keyword, like, say like San Diego SEO course, right? When they're trying to actually go after San Diego, like digital marketing. Like if you start throwing the word course in there, you're like fucking up your relevance basically. So don't do anything that's going to screw up your relevance, and get thematic and stay like on point when it comes to intent, and you should be good. So just look at it like that. And I just say, throw it in a tool that works and make it easy.
Have you guys seen Chase Rayner's automation tools? So he's automating a lot of stuff. He uses TikTok to promote this stuff, and he's got this automation, some script that's automating conversion AI and churning out a fuck ton of content. Do you guys think Google will start penalizing that shit?
I would never automate something and use it for what it's not supposed to be used for, so I can't comment, Craig.
I think he's being facetious.
No, I honestly don't care. It seems like a good idea because people are asking about it. It's obviously working for him. This is proof, but yeah.
Use it. See if you like it. Use it on a cheap expired domain. See.
I saw another post that actually said that they're starting to put limits on it, and I think people that are new into the industry, you have to realize that when someone decides to like sell something and do something outside of what the terms of service are, or that a business hasn't thought of yet that is not outside of terms of service, that's when TOS changes. That's when processes change. I've seen it dozens, if not hundreds of times, where people start to sell one thing that works really well and it will close very quickly, some quicker than others. But if I was Conversion AI, I would close that shit up too. But if I was Chase, I would probably do what Chase is doing.
I would use it until I can't anymore if it's producing income. Or it's just a hacky thing that he's showing to get views too. I mean, both of those could be, a viable solution, a viable explanation. It could be both. Yeah.
You've got to also consider that Chase is a marketer. And that's all I'm going to say on that. But he's a great guy, does some funny stuff. So
he cracks me up, dude.
He's good at poking at people, I feel like.
Yeah. I like at first, loads of people like in the circle of friends I've got, like, I fucking hate that guy and all that.
Yeah, that's how it happened everywhere, I think, dude.
Same thing with Becker back in the day, right? I think.
Yeah.
Isn't that,
But he's actually a really decent guy and does some smart shit. You've got to take your hat off to him. He's obviously using controversial things and saying controversial things to get himself out there, and it's worked successfully, in my opinion. So definitely one worth keeping an eye on.
It's controversial in a tame sense, because if I start saying things that I think are controversial, if I could say it, I definitely can't spell it, controversial to me, then no one will ever talk to me again. So he's riding that line.
I want to know if he did the first one, like the first controversy. I know there was one about some stuff, and I want to know if it was on purpose or he just embraced it and ran with it, dude. So
no, it was purpose. It was on purpose.
It was.
Because I actually asked him. I'm like,
gotcha. I assumed so, but I've always wanted to ask him that. So
no, he has. I had him on my podcast as well, and I was talking away to him, and I asked him that, and I think he confirmed that on the podcast. But he is also a big believer in engagement. So see some of the crazy stuff he says, even in the Facebook posts and stuff. It's in his opinion, if people interact with that, then they're going to see more of his shit. So that's why he says stuff,
100%,
that shit out. So but that initial one that he's probably most well known for, if you're talking about something that was photoshopped off of a screenshot, and he said he doesn't use links, then that was nonsense. He was just fucking around with people.
There's a lot of people doing that right now, saying, "Oh, not links, not links," and you go back and know what you're looking at, know what you're looking for. Then you start to see the profile that's like right in front of your face, right?
Well, in all honesty, we know people personally that have been doing it for years. You know, they've sold courses for like masterminds for like a few years at a time, rank without links, and then like everyone's dicks get hard in the SEO community thinking about ranking without links, and they go and buy the fucking course, and then it worked, So.
Yeah. So there was a question about that one. Yeah, this one is it. Okay, you have it up. I'm like, where is it, guys? The location thing I didn't read. Of course, I read the first sentence and didn't read the second, which I was going to answer the first. But when I see the location, it changes my answer. So the location thing, huge to me, especially if they have listings or landers for it. But on that note, there are national campaigns right now where you can just look at new sites coming in that are a few months old, and they're skyrocketing because they're coming in new to these new changes. And I will tell you right now, I'm looking at things and I'm putting things out where I can see exactly where the breaking point is. And if you do the right thing on your domains and you don't have history, for right now, the last few weeks, it will skyrocket and it will shoot up. Now, I'm already starting to see people drop off from this, but it's very possible, especially.
Aren't they releasing a second core like back-to-back months or something?
July, dude. Yeah. So here's the thing: they're saying it's because it was so big, but what's really, I really do believe, and I've done through. Yeah, exactly. There's been a lot of recent, like, granted, like patents and certain things that follow certain people that have come into the company recently and taken over like leadership positions. And the data that I'm seeing, it really does seem like they're going to be rolling this kind of core out. Like I said, like you've been hit by December, you're not getting hit in June a lot of the time, right? Because you've already been adjusted back down to where you should be for the new algorithms. Now, July, they have it happening, and that's like Core Web Vitals as well. I wouldn't be surprised if they stop telling us it's happening, or they say it's going to happen in August, but I think they're going to be tuning this shit for a couple years, easy. But, that's SEO.
It is. Lastly, before we wrap up, it wouldn't be the same show without live IRL fans.
Dude, asking about Vietnam phones. Yeah.
I love this guy.
All at the last minute. Yeah.
So he's found 4 real Vietnamese phone farms. One in
what
Russia.
Kind of phone farms?
So why can he not find any of these other services in any other countries? Is it because people are keeping it quiet, or are other people just not doing that shit? I'm assuming you guys probably know of a few.
Right over there? Yeah.
What was the question? So I assume we can't find any of the services. I'm trying to think. I'm thinking of stuff. He distracted the shit out of me, dude. I'm assuming like what your phone farm is. You're just dialing and sending, or what do you mean by that phone farm? I don't.
He's used it to get accounts in the past, based on past questions, right?
So he's trying. Is he trying? I think because when he ties it, what I think he's doing, when he ties it to like, should I do that or just get engagement and traffic? Is it trying to like actually?
It might be views. It's either views or account creation. I don't know.
Much. I mean, honestly, like if that's what it's for, I would say just start sending real traffic, dude. I mean, realistically. Like if that's what it's for, I would literally just spend my money on building my channel personally. What would you do, Craig? Because you're the YouTube dude.
I've came to the conclusion that I think real traffic is the most important thing. I do use a little bit of micro workers and stuff like that, which is hopefully still real people. But I think that is where you're going to get the most traction. And it's not just about sending the real traffic and all that kind of stuff. When you're doing Facebook ads and all that kind of stuff, it's building your brand and everything. So I'm tying all of that into one thing. I don't want some random bot seeing me. That's not going to help build my brand or anything. So I go the more costly way. But I have tried things like Site Pop. I've tried all of the stuff over the years, crowd search and all that other bullshit. And for me, Real here puts up build your own 4G proxy with GPS, stop wasting your time with phone farms. Nothing is technically going to beat real traffic or doing what this guy says here. Holly Starks is proof of that, running around with their 100 phones. That shit moves the needle, but it's a hell of a lot of work. But I think Google.
You could also, if you want to, I mean, it's a rabbit hole in and of itself. But if you want to get into cloaking and use that traffic specifically for the specific niche that you're trying to push, you're going to get a ton of bot traffic, but you're also going to get, a portion that is real converting traffic as well. Yep. Not as high as it used to be, but I would do that. Just build, like we've talked about building assets this entire time. That would be another level of asset building. And I've never used phone farms, so.
Look, like a lot of the stuff coming out is like how they are using the phone. You can literally see these things they've written about, and the patents that they're getting granted is, here's my phone. Like, oh, hey, we've got a new mechanism how we're going to like track and see what they search on that phone, and then suggest actions to the users. So the 4G and the GPS stuff, the closer to real you can get, the better it is. Real with control is awesome. So yes, yeah, exactly.
Was that heroin?
Did you spend there, Craig? Did you buy the nice? No, I don't want to go into models, but okay.
They are reasonably new for what I need to do. I can't get away with iPhone 4s. Put it that way. I think these are iPhone 8s. I think, but anyway. I'm not building a farm in any way, live IRL, but I am trying to do my best.
It's a Scottish farm.
Yeah, a shitty little
Scottish farm. They call you up and start yelling at you while they're drunk.
It's got sheep answering the...
Ma.
One last one from BK at Work. Are fake GMB reviews illegal?
I don't know. Are they technically illegal? They're definitely against terms of service.
It's fraud. It can be. I don't know. I mean, I don't think I've seen, and I've not been tracking. I should be tracking it more right now. The last one I saw was a lawsuit based around fraud. But I mean, you just have to be careful you have to drive that risk tolerance and decide, like, okay.
And again, we are not legal experts, so take everything we say for educational purposes only with a grain of salt.
I wouldn't even take it as education.
Yeah, you're not learning anything on this fucking show. I'll tell you that.
But on that note, guys, we are out of time. If you guys want to check out minionettraining.com or nfgseo.com/7 to check out some of the stuff these guys have got. These guys also do a show on a Thursday. What time do you do it on the Thursdays? Like 7?
An hour later. Yeah.
On NFG SEO.
So go to NFG SEO if you want to hear more from these guys.
Well, Joshua Fletcher's there, and he's a pretty freaking smart dude. Corey's pretty smart.
He's definitely much smarter than me.
And me. He has a PhD, and when he gets talking,
spell PhD.
Yeah, it's interesting. I can't spell it. All right, thanks everyone.
But yeah, check them out, guys. Make sure you do give a like in this video and check out ODYS. And we will see you guys same time next week. Cheers.